boss!
Hello and welcome to the second half of my bitsboyz challenge. In my last video, I've already completed Zogbarth, our weird boy, for the character segment. Now it's time to do the vehicle, the Shokkjump Dragsta. Shokkjump Dragstas are one of the more unique vehicles driven by Ork speed freaks. Aside from the fairly standard rockets and saw blades, it carries two ridiculous devices of war. The shock rifle, a massive single-shot energy weapon that can snipe targets into oblivion, and the shock drive, a gadget that allows the buggy to tunnel through the warp and teleport across the battlefield once it picks up enough speed. On the tabletop, the Dragsta does pretty much exactly that. It can teleport whenever you advance with it, and the shock rifle fires off one big blast with the precision keyword to snipe characters out of the units they're leading. Kitbashing an Orks unit always needs to start with a good base. For infantry and for characters, that's usually an appropriately sized pair of legs. But for vehicles, it's a good hull. One of my favourite ways to make distinct looking and cheap hulls is to use toys or garbage. While digging through an old toy box, I found this old metal Lamborghini toy. I cut out a 150mm oval base to test the fit, and yeah, it fits on just fine. It's a little shorter than I might like though, but we're going to do plenty to address that later. You can see I've already attached a few of the more pedestrian elements of this build to it. These saw blades on the side from the Rucker Truck Squig buggy, and these big hunter-killer missiles to stand in for the rockets. One of the more outlandish things I've already attached though, with the big dollop of hot glue, is the shock drive. On the official model, this is a 5-pronged swirly-whirly thing, but I don't think I had the parts necessary to make that. Instead, I've taken this big round vent from an Imperial Knights kit, and I've attached all these different Tesla coils. They used to be the custom force field that comes with the Mega Knobs kit. So now that we've seen the vehicle so far, I'd like to add some of the sillier parts on camera. First, we're going to need a driver. Any old Ork boy will do for this. The lad I've made here, I've given him a shooter and a chopper and then cut them away so it looks like he's holding something, and used chunks of sprue to make some kind of janky steering wheel, a bit like the controls you'd see in a plane or a helicopter. Now because I've already gouged out the windshield of this toy, I can just plop him right in the front, like so. If I lift it up, you can see that he fits pretty snug. I'm going to be blue tacking him down so that he stays there for the rest of the build, but I like to be able to remove him so I can paint him separately later. Now what are we going to do for an engine? We need something massive and orky, so I found this big boxy thing. I don't actually know what it was, but it came in the Mechboy workshop kit, and I've attached these exhaust pipes from the Mozrog Scragpad kit. This looks like a big, horrible engine, so I'm going to mount it on the back of the car, right there. I think that's going to look pretty cool right there. Let's do the glue. Even though we're using Games Workshop plastic parts for this, the toy is metal, so I'll be using super glue for most of this build, and hot glue if I'm in really dire straits. Okay, now we have our driver, our standard weapons, our shock drive, and our big, goofy engine. But Aidan, I don't hear you say, because I don't know you and I'm in my room and this is pre-recorded, where's the shock rifle? Well, the shock rifle on the original model is crewed by 2 gunner grots and a targeting squig to make sure that it's accurate. I didn't think I wanted something like that for this, so what if we find our accuracy in a different way? What if our gun is accurate and snipey because it's on a vantage point? Let me introduce you to whatever the hell this is. I think this is a crane arm from the Mechboy workshop kit, as are these funny little cartoon alien laser gun Tesla coils. I've tipped it with a custom Mega Blaster, which itself is tipped with what looks like a scoped las cannon. I think this gun comes from the Space Marine Storm Raven kit. It's one of the flyers. But this will be serving as our shock rifle. And this massive claw arm is going to go right on top of the engine so that the car looks like this. Essentially what I've done is tried to make the vehicle into a mobile sniper turret. There's this little peg on the bottom which fits quite conveniently into this. That is ridiculous. I love it. But I also love squigs, and I didn't want to miss out on having a targeting squig. So I took this little squiglet from the Rocket Truck Squig Buggy, and I put a scope on top of the squig, and I put a crosshair on top of the scope on top of the squig. I think I'd like him to sit here on the roof of the car, and I have this chain that came from this piece of the MechBoy workshop as well, so maybe I can tether this to the back of the scope and lock him onto the engine so he's part of the weapon. I've been able to attach the squig by a chain, and he's going to sit there on the back with his tongue streaming in the wind. I like to think that the targeting squig, instead of being there to look down the barrel, is going to bark out a warning when he sees that the gun lines up with the target. Then the driver knows when it's time to pull the trigger. In terms of equipment, this thing is done, but it needs a little bit of decoration. So I'm going to go rummaging through my bits boxes looking for plates and glyphs, and things just to make the silhouette a little rougher and more orky. Ladies and gentle gits, boys, grots, and squigs of the world, I give you the Slamborghini. Clocking in with an engine at over 400 squig power, this mobile sniper turret of unstable destruction is out here and ready to obliterate some enemy gits. Fitted out with the silliest things that money can't buy, if the massive shock vent wasn't enough to strike the fear of Gork, or possibly Mork, into you, then the faraway super zapper should be. You know what they say, when the squig starts yapping, the gun starts zapping. And there we have my Shokkjump Dragsta, and my vehicle completed for the bitsboyz challenge. Combined with our weird boy Zogbaf here, we've done it! I finished both halves of my bitsboyz challenge in plenty of time for the end of Orktober. This was so much fun to do. Once you have the base for a vehicle, you can go crazy making pretty much anything for it. Orks allow you to justify all kinds of decorations and all kinds of silly weaponry. I'd love to tackle a few other buggies in the future like this. Maybe I could have a whole squadron of toy cars using different toys as different hulls. With both of these lads complete for bitsboyz, it's almost time to do a big roundup. So, if you've taken part in the bitsboyz challenge this month, please leave a comment below or contact me if I've reached out to you before and tell me what you've made. I'd love to share everything in a big showcase video at the end of the month. That's all for today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you around in the next one. Happy Orktober!
Sod off!